I'm Kim.
And I'm Camille, and this is Enneagram for the Culture, where two dope Black therapists discuss how therapy, Blackness, and the Enneagram come together.
Mm-hmm.
Hello again. Hello. So before we jump into our episode this week with Quay, we are going to just share a little bit of information about some of the topics that we talked about in the interview.
Quay is a five. And so fives are known as our observers and investigators. If you want to go back and listen to previous seasons where we kind of do a much deeper dive on who our five friends are, check that out. Season 1 and 2, both seasons, it's episode 9. But as a refresher, the five type structure can really, they love knowledge. They can have an insatiable thirst for thinking and knowing. And they can also experience the world as a place that can be intrusive and at times overwhelming. And this is a reflection of their core fear, which is being annihilated, invaded, or not even existing, or to be thought as not capable or competent. They fear having obligations being placed upon them and their energy being depleted. The core desire for fives is being knowledgeable, capable, and competent. Their core weakness is avarice, feeling like they lack the inner resources that they need, and that too much interaction with others will lead to catastrophic depletion, withholding themselves from contact with the world and holding on to their resources and minimizing their needs. And their core longing, like what they really desire to hear and know in their hearts, is that their needs are not a problem.
Thanks for that, Kim. And in the episode, we touch a tiny bit on wings. It's something that we refer to. And when we think about when you're learning the Enneagram, it's really common that you'll hear people say their wing type. So they might introduce themselves, or they might share that I'm a 7 wing 6, or I'm a 3 wing 4. And what that is talking about is their wing, which is next to their number. Around when you look at the Enneagram circle, each number has 2 numbers next to it, and those are the wings. And when we say that we're 7 wing 6, that means that I lean a little bit more to the 6 side of a 7, and I kind of take on some of those 6 qualities that kind of flavor my 7-ness. And so we can be balanced in our wings. So sometimes people have a balance of the wings. Some people do have a more dominant wing, and we can also flex into each. So there might be times that I might grab some of the qualities of an 8, and there might be some times that I'm really leaning into that 6 wing for myself.
And so this can be beneficial to kind of take with you as you're learning, because as Camille said, there can be benefits to kind of remembering that you actually have access to both of those type structures that sit beside you and their energies, if you will, or their traits. So, for example, we just did a reminder of who our 5 friends are. So being folks who, at times might really feel the need to go internal and maybe withdraw, really just be connected to self. It can be helpful for 5s to remember that they have access to that 6 energy, who at times our 6s can be very determined and reliant on connection with the folks that they trust, and to help them with feeling a sense of security. 6s can be incredibly reliable folks to be connected to, and so you can hear it can be beneficial for a 5 at times to remember that when they need it, they can access that, right? Or 5s, like we said, are very thirsty for information and knowledge. 5s can go down rabbit holes when it comes to obtaining information. It can also be very analytical. And so it might be beneficial at times for 5s to remember that they have access to that 4 energy, who are 4s, tend to be very creative folks and also have access to emotions. 4s are deep feelers. And so to help bring about balance, again, with that very logical or an analytical part of 5s, it could be beneficial for them to kind of call on some of those traits of 4s when they need it. So that's how an awareness of our wings can benefit us.
So let's jump in and get to know Quay, and here's some of the things that we just shared with you kind of get embodied by his thoughts and his wisdom.
So we're really excited for our guest today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. We have Quaye Weston with us today. Quay is a Black Southern designer, writer, and family archivist residing in Durham, North Carolina. With over a decade of experience as a design professional, Quay uses his creative talents to support local and national companies and nonprofit organizations that are committed to building a more equitable and just world for Black people. In his free time, he daydreams, cackles, and collects oral histories of his family as they work to preserve 40 acres of ancestral land in his hometown of Pantego, North Carolina. Welcome, Quay. We're so glad to have you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really, really, really glad to be here with y'all. I've loved the show for a long time. Listen to every episode, I'm pretty sure. At least 98%. So yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation. So thank you.
Thanks for rocking with us for so long, for 4 seasons.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. Y'all been killing it. So
Thank you. And your bio, you know how we do. We always give love to a bio, and that bio is great. It's so good, captures you perfectly, and just it also, I think, just you can hear the roots of what you're doing, like the meanings of what you're doing, and I think it's good. Thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's hard, but here I am. Here I am.
Doing what you do, cackling along the way.
That's right. That's right.
So we'll jump in. We'll jump in with our starter question of how the Enneagram showed up for you this week or lately. Something you've noticed about yourself and your Enneagram. Do you want to start? You want me to start?
I can start. That's fine.
Yes.
The Enneagram showed up for me this week, yesterday. I just got back from a fellowship retreat for this, Black Artists, Environmental Justice Fellowship that I'll be in through May. And it was such a lovely time. I was 4 days, basically, over 3 nights. And we visited some really beautiful places across North Carolina, that had environmental justice history, as well as the Quaye River, which has an incredible story of the Quaye folks and the tribe there cleaning up the river. And now people can kayak down the river and all these other things. So it's really beautiful. And kind of the reclamation of it is really amazing. And on my drive home, I went straight from there to a work meeting, and I didn't have time to process the sadness of leaving. And I was just like, I'll never have time to do this again. When am I ever going to get this done? I don't have time. And that is, as I understand my Enneagram to work as a 5, feeling limited in resources often, or scarce in resources, and time often is a thing. That hit me in the car yesterday, all through the night. So that's where I am. Right.
How you doing with that this morning?
Better.
Okay.
Better. I feel kind of aligned again on what the goal is.
Yeah.
I talked to my great aunt last night about it, and I feel like I'm on the other side. So I feel like some spaciousness is there, and it just, the spiral of all the things to do, kind of hit me pretty hard. So yeah.
That's incredible as far as, a true testament to 5s and that, sometimes grappling with that scarcity mindset, not trusting that there's going to be enough. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And it sounds like a really cool project that you're involved with too. So that's neat. Yeah. Really neat.
Yeah.
My Enneagram is showing up right now because we are in the Olympics. And I love a all-encompassing sporting worldwide event. I just get super hype about things like that. I love all the stories and the grit and just watching these people's lifelong dreams. And everybody does, right? Like the Olympics are not just for some people, but I will get really, I will watch, I'm watching primetime every single night until 11:30. I am like following the, like people have said like they've been watching it while working. I'm like, I don't know how like you can focus. Like I need to be able to like be locked in. I'm like texting limited. I'm on my phone limited when I'm watching. So just being kind of all in about it and as much as I can. And actually I get upset because our coverage is NBC and our coverage is America. And so I get really upset that I'm actually not getting the expansiveness of the Olympics because I'm seeing 3 semifinal heats in swimming. And I really just want to see the skateboarding or the 3-on-3 basketball. Like I want to see more, not just swimming and even the gymnastics. I'm like, I love the gymnastics and the women's team and the men's team, but like, I want to see Japan. I want to see China. Like, show me what they're doing. So I actually get mad at like that there's not enough of the coverage on prime time. And I wish that they would call me and be like, hey, like, what do you think about our coverage?
Wow.
And I could be like, I think you need more stories of other countries. We don't need 3 swimming semifinal heats. We just don't. Just don't.
I thought I knew what you were sharing as far as how your Enneagram like tied into this, but I had no idea.
Nope.
I mean, it's multiple like layers. So, but I hear you. It's not enough. You know that there's more, and you want the more.
Yeah.
And also, you want to give some feedback.
Yeah, I think I should be on but I have to trust whenever I say that, like I should give feedback. And maybe this is a fault of mine. I don't know if this is about my Enneagram number, but I have to trust that like there's multiple heads around the table. So like they must have made that decision intentionally about the 3 swimming heats. Like it wasn't just one person that said we should have 3 swimming heats, semifinals. You know, like 10 people said we should do it. So maybe they know something I don't. Like maybe people don't want to watch the women's volleyball. But that's, you know, I'm going to write it. I'm going to watch it, what I can watch.
I love the trust. I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. I try.
Okay. So, Quay, let's chat.
Wait, what about you, Kim? Are you going to
go? No. I mean, I wasn't.
I mean, if you want to, you don't, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. No.
Heard.
Thanks for asking, though.
Yeah.
We're doing a little something different for season 4, Quay. We're kind of flip flopping.
I love it.
That way we have more time for other stuff. So
yeah, I love it.
Poor Kim wasn't on the spot. I wasn't ready. She knew today was her off day.
But I appreciate you being thoughtful. And again, a testament that you've been rocking with us. You've been listening because normally I do share, but no, not today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, spotlight's on you. So tell us tell us about your Enneagram origin story. How did you initially how'd you learn about the Enneagram?
Yeah. So I was trying to, as I think about it, I recall hearing about it from a beloved friend, Jesse Huddleston, who knows all the Enneagram things. Well, maybe not all the things. You get what I'm saying. But knows a lot about the Enneagram. And he and Brittany, my wife, were talking about the Enneagram earlier in our kind of like dating times. And I was interested I've always been a fan of personality tests, like just taking them to see like what's my learning style or do I have ADHD? Like I take all those little tests online. And I probably shouldn't because I'm like, they probably getting all my information, but it's fine. So I was interested in it. I didn't really know much about where it came from or like what its uses were. So I did a little bit of a dive on that. And then I started to research more about myself, obviously. and spent time thinking about like, does this make sense to me? How does this apply to my life? What about fiveness feels right for me? What things can I like not, make sure I didn't over identify with things and say like, yes, this is exactly who I am. So yeah, I was introduced, I think maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And then our pastor, Lisa Yaboa at Southeast Raleigh Table talks about it. So it just made it more interesting to me to like find out where I fall in this line of people and numbers and triads and things. So that was my introduction.
Dope. Yeah. I love, of course, like your introduction included like this deep dive and like learning about origins and learning about, and then even being careful, a cautiousness about, I don't want to over identify like what's my reflection upon this versus their reflection upon me. I think that's cool and dope. And again, speaks to like the style of how your mind works as a 5.
Yeah. Cause I also was like, oh, there's wings? Wait a minute. Let me see about those. Yeah. So yeah, and all like I said, I've been listening to y'all's seasons and interested in like hearing. I just love how people think and how people work. So yeah, listening to other people and finding connection points. It's been pretty incredible. So I'm enjoying it. I think it's cool. I think it's fascinating. Yeah, and I think I've learned some things that maybe I otherwise wouldn't have put together on my own.
What mention wings? Which wing do you feel like you kind of maybe favor or lean more toward?
Yeah, so I'm not an expert to be clear.
Okay.
But I think the 5 wing 6 is more of how I see myself. And I want to learn more about 6s to see like. Yeah, I want to learn more about 6s just to understand that piece. And y'all were, I think, which season was it? Maybe season 2, 3, where y'all were getting into like triads and what they mean. And then like, if you're like too much of or at certain moments you could lean to like a totally different number that has nothing to do with the number that you are or closest to you. So I was like, oh snap, this is, a wide web. So yeah, 5 wing 6, but that's what I know right now.
Yeah, that sounds that resonates. It's layered. Like you learn about it, you land on your type, and it's kind of like that. It's only place to start. There's so much more. There's so much more to it, which I do. I think it kind of it's one of the many things that makes it different from other tests. Something that, you can grow with it or it can grow with you either way.
Yeah.
Or kind of pinning you down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the different numbers, that's right. The arrows. So the connection you have to 7 and 8, which is also pretty fascinating. I think you have 5 and a connection to 8, and even 7. But yeah.
I want to know more about it. And I don't know. It's just, I'm a very interested in like self-discovery and identity and like all the things that make us who we are. So I think, I feel like once I go into a research rabbit hole, I'll be having to pull myself out. So I'm taking it a little bit at a time.
That's nice. Does that research rabbit hole? Can you speak to that? Like, how often does that? Is that a daily thing?
Oh my goodness!
And like, is it big and little? Like, is it like what restaurant we should go to? What baby bottle should we buy for Eden? Or is it like the big things like the Enneagram or the world and like
it is all of it. I'm usually, when it was I was on the stroller duty. That was me. I'm looking at safety. I'm looking at reviews. I'm looking at how many people bought it. I'm looking at how many reviews there are, what the reviews actually say. Do the reviews look like they were generated by a bot? I'm like in there. Same for baby bottles. Yes. So we have several sets of bottles and I'm like, which one actually works with her like mouth shape? Which one resembles more of a boob? Oh, let's see. So I'm that person. Anything I buy, I typically watch a YouTube video about it to see what people's experiences were with them. Yeah, I everything. So,
Everything.
you know, the political things, the big things, the world things, the culture things. I spend a lot of time, well, a necessary amount of time researching things, and like trying to form an analysis of it.
Now,
helping it make
does
sense.
that happen in a multitasking way? Like, can you do it while you're watching TV, or if you're talking to Brittany, or is it like, no, I am in a research hole?
I can try to multitask with it. I attempt to, but it does not work.
Okay.
So I usually, if I'm right before bed, tends to be my time to like spend 20, 30 minutes looking at something, that then easily becomes an hour after you don't notice. So can't multitask. I have to be like focusing in on it, which I think, my intense focus is one of my strengths or gifts, but also sometimes a little bit of a weakness too, depending on what else needs to be attended to.
That's cool.
I think it's incredible. Yeah, I think it's incredible. I think we said it before. It's great to have a 5 on your team and in your life, like, because if you need to know something,
they
got you.
Yeah,
they got you, and it's pretty reliable. The analysis, as you just said, that Pops will come back with. So I think it's really, really cool.
I have a good, one of my best friends is married to a 5, and they just had a baby. So I knew about the baby bodies in the stroller.
That's right.
I already knew, because he also was in charge of some stuff. And so then you know that it's the best. You're like, oh yeah, I know that whatever stroller they have is the best stroller, because I know that he looked at that for days.
We got a stroller story. I'm not going to get into it, but our stroller ended up not being exactly what it needed to be. We had a manufacturing defect, but we got it fixed, got it corrected. Do not worry.
Okay.
Not worried. We are not.
She's safe. She's good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Love that. And so with all of the research that you have done about the Enneagram, and like, even that, again, like that, what you said, I don't want to over-identify with stuff. I don't want them to tell me stuff about me that's not true. I wonder, like, how do you notice your Blackness intersecting with your Enneagram 5? What does it mean to you to be a Black type 5? And how is that? What have you seen?
Yeah. I think it means many things. Because I feel that, Blackness has this really cool way. I would say cool, and by cool I mean like beautiful, unique way of kind of adding nuance and complexity to things that we tend to generalize.
Yeah.
So I think being a Black 5 for me made me think a lot about the ways I recall being told, spoken of as like very to myself, very independent, very private. And I think I've felt some of that through learning about the Enneagram, but also I think about, the other things that connect to it, right? Like growing up with my great grandma, who was pretty quiet, didn't really talk much, in this rural town of 150 people, only child for 15 years of my life. So like I spent time with myself, obviously, as any child would, learning about things. My aunts were very involved in our lives, my uncles too. We spent a lot of time in nature or in random places, learning about things or experimenting with things. So I think even before I came to the Enneagram, I had this way of moving about the world that the Enneagram kind of affirmed in many ways. I think I see it in that way, as in like the Black experience. I think sometimes, at least historically, has created this way that we show up in space. I think y'all talked about it before, right? Going somewhere and being like, are there other Black people? Like doing a scan, right? Or feeling like I need to know more things to prove competence or prove wisdom or experience or whatever. So I think some of the Black experience can already require a certain amount of need to knows or needing to do more research or taking your time to make wiser decisions, right? Based on how you're resourced or your workplace or who you're around. So I see that intersection too. I think, there's a lot of ways that Blackness kind of creates this culture of people that I didn't think easily kind of align for me, at least with the five, and particularly as a man, right? Who like needs to know everything, or is told you need to know everything to be powerful or influential or whatever else. So I think that's a part of it too.
That makes sense. And that's cool. That like, I really loved hearing about like your family and how like even your family already kind of, well, it sounds like your family almost fostered and helped like nurture your quietness and, you know, wanting to be in nature and learning things. It sounds like they were open to that for you as a child.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, my mom bought me my first microphone, which is where my like creative talent started. And I think it was, I think she had a sense of like my creative capacity, like my interest in making music or production or writing songs and writing things. That I don't think she's ever like said anything about directly, but I think she just knew, you know, how moms be doing sometimes. Sometimes moms be doing that. So I think it was definitely nurtured through family and church in different ways and my general kind of like upbringing for sure. For sure.
As I was listening to you, brought up a question that is not on the list. So, but can you tell us more about Pantego?
Yeah, I would love to.
I've never heard of Pantego.
Yeah, it's unincorporated. So that's a part of why you wouldn't hear about it or see it on maps. But it is Eastern North Carolina, not right on, but a little bit in from the Pungo River. And it is as rural can get. Brittany, when we went there, she was like, I ain't never seen nothing like this. Yeah, she's from South Carolina, right? So she's seen some places. But yeah, she's like, I don't know what this is. So my great grandparents have been there forever. My family's still there. It's like 150 people. Agricultural land. It used to be the East Dismal Swamp, which was owned by this big plantation owner near there for timber and logging. So it's basically like flat land, lots of corn everywhere or flowers. There's this Dutch family who immigrated that did like peonies. I think that's how you pronounce it. But they are like the second largest peony distributor in the state or something. So it's like a beautiful small little town. Not much there though, by way of stores or hospitals or restaurants. But yeah, it's a really small, beautiful place that I used to despise because it was so far from everything. Yeah. But family's still there. Everybody's making it happen. It's right near the water. So it's pretty close to the beaches too. So it's like prime location, actually.
How I know you mentioned that it's not that big, like not that large. It's not a lot of people there, but like diverse wise, like what's that look like?
Yeah. So it's mostly white. I think like 80% or something like that. And then like 13% black.
Okay.
And then Latinx, not Latinx, I'd say that. Latinx folks. And then that's kind of it, in terms of diversity. But yeah, most of those families have been there forever. People don't really move there unless you have family that left you something there. And people tend to move out of it. yeah, so it's interesting. And I really want to spend more time there, but I'm also like, okay, I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a creative person. I can't really be doing that there. As much as I would like to, but have some ideas and have some dreams for it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you said like you're trying to preserve the oral histories and like, so yeah, what's your goal with that? What are you doing with that?
Yeah. So the project has been named Yonda, the Yonda Project, which is just like a spin on the word yonder, which is something my great grandma used to say a lot. But really like the tie-in of faith and like Black futures and land. So the project is really my family, the Riddick family. We're trying to preserve like 40 acres of land that is shared in Pantego. In Riddick Town is what we call our little street where all my family lives. So in Riddick Town, there's this big shared forest that now is owned by like 35 different family members because people didn't have wills when they passed, which just means by North Carolina law, like it's just split amongst the children and the spouses of whoever has passed away. And over generations, that becomes many people. So the project is really like bring your family together, getting on the same page around what we want to do. Do we want to preserve it? How do we want to use the forest? What do we have vision for it for the future? Or who doesn't want to be involved, who doesn't want to preserve it, who might just want to be bought out or cut their ties with it. So the project is really storytelling around it, oral histories from elders about the place, hoping to get people back to like reconnect with the land. And, you know, younger people, I've moved. I live in Durham, not obviously, but I live in Durham. And I think some of that connection to the place has been lost. And my elders keep saying like, we need to figure this out. Like, what do y'all want to do with it? We need it to stay in the family. And I've had a lot of dreams and feelings and things around it. So I'm just trying to organize us, and we're organizing ourselves, I should say, around what we want to see happen to it next, before it's like encroached upon by the white farmers all around it, who have offered to buy it from us, but we're like, we don't want to do that. Getting on the same page about it and making sure it stays in our stewardship rather than whoever, wherever.
Really cool. So I feel like fives can be really misunderstood. And like, you know, some of the traits that you even, you know, identify with. So like maybe at times coming across as like more reserved or quiet or to themselves, just kind of hard to connect with or whatever. And I just find it to be just so incredible how just the depth and how fives can tend to like, there's just a lot that's going on up here and can be going on. And so when you kind of connect it all, you know, like you said, you being a Black man, you know, from a small town, but the gravity and kind of magnitude and potential impact for the work that you're doing and the work that you're passionate about, it's just really intriguing to me. I think it's really cool. Can you tell us about like what's your hope? What's a hope that you have for Black people around growth work that they're doing, be it via the Enneagram or any type of self-growth, self-curiosity, exploration? And specifically, can you share like an individual hope that you have for Black people and then kind of collectively for the culture?
Yeah. Individual hope. The individual hope I have and have been working towards is like gathering my people particularly like cis Black men. And I think a part of that, I hope, would be healing, kind of reimagining and recreating our own ideas of masculinity and manhood. I'm trying to do that for myself, which is where the individual part comes in. So it's a little bit selfish, but also like, can we also do this together? Yeah. And I think in that healing, beyond like therapy and community and friends, I hope that we get to see ourselves differently, or allow ourselves to be seen differently too, which is something I struggle with. So that we can show up better in relationships or family or workplaces, as a more like whole version of ourselves, that isn't as like constrained or limited by ideas of who we're supposed to be. So I'm working on that for me.
How's that going?
Child, it's going. It's going. It is very hard.
Yeah.
And it's very slow, and sometimes, and that's the challenging part, I think. So yeah, that's an individual one. And then I think for the culture, for us, really would like to see us use growth work and this like self-help work or whatever forms of it people find themselves on to like activate the pieces or parts of us that makes us want to be like closer to each other. And not just like isolated improvement, right? Where I develop and I'm better and I'm faster and I'm stronger and I'm more healed, but yet you got into a world that's worse. So that's my hope, is in whatever way we use Enneagrams or all of that, might help us see like humanity and connection with other humans around us. And like a friend, Derek Beasley, used like non-human kinfolk, which I appreciated. Like also our relationship to the world, right? To our planet and the things around us, the animals and non-animals alike. I think is extremely important, to me.
It's interesting, like what Kim was saying about how like sometimes fives could be misunderstood because so much of our conversation, Quay, has been about community and relationship and being in connection with people and like being connection to history. And like nowhere has it been you talking about, I just want to be by myself in a hole, or I just want to be, like isolated. I want to move to an island and forget all y'all. No, it's all like this drive, at least what I'm hearing from you is this drive for connection, whether it is the individual about masculinity and how we do that in community. And then larger, how we show up together, that our growth would lead us together. That's really dope. Neat.
Yeah. I think, isolation is made to be this like cool thing. And like, nobody wants that. Like maybe somebody somewhere does. Right. But I don't, I used to feel like it made sense. Right. So I just could do things by myself and have time to myself and like space away from people. And I could just think clearly, but it was largely rooted in like, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. I don't want to have to be accountable to anyone. I just want to do whatever I want to do, free of anybody's thoughts or opinions. But that's not, it's not healthy. It's really unsafe for many people. And it ain't going to get us nowhere, really. So, that's right.
I wonder, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm making a connection, but correct me if this is a wrong connection, is that like, when we think about fives, the isolation comes maybe from like the resources, like you talked about, like the scarcity, like, oh my gosh, you're encroaching. I need to think about this. I need time to think about this. And you're getting in my space and I don't know if I have enough. And so is there some growth that you've done that like, no, connection and community doesn't encroach or take away. There's enough time for me to think and be in community. Like, I can do both?
Yeah. Great question. Yes. I was doing some work in therapy around being with a group, participating in a group, but feeling like I was left out of the group. And it really bothered me. Bothered me. And in that conversation, it was about like, yes, withdrawing to like recuperate and like maybe have the focus time that you need to come back to a space or a group or a conversation more like present is useful. But that doesn't mean that I want to be like isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is a connection to that. In that usually when I'm taking my own time, it's to like process or think about a kinder way to say a thing. Cause sometimes I just say the first thing that comes to my mind, and that's not always the most effective. Yeah. So less about not wanting to be a part, but like, how do I figure out what I need to then come back and be a part? Or if I'm in the group, it's largely about like safety. Do I feel safe enough to say this thing or ask this question? And sometimes I, as a growth spot, probably don't always feel safe. Yeah, kind of naturally. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think there's something in there about, the distinction between pulling away to like do a thing that I need, or like totally isolating myself, which I used to do, think made sense, but it actually didn't make sense because I never processed with the people what was happening for me. Which are two different things.
That's right.
I definitely agree with you. I think, as far as like no one truly like desiring, to be alone or in isolation. I think sometimes, some people may present that way or might even believe that that is what they want. But I think that oftentimes it drills down to like a sense of, or lack of sense of safety or feeling seen or feeling known. And so oftentimes it's just it's a defense mechanism. It's a way to protect oneself. But I think we're all wired to want to be connected, and to feel connected and to feel seen and to feel known. So,
and can I add one more thing?
Yes, please.
And as a part of that experience with the group, I also was having this. I wrote in my journal about, this might not make sense, maybe very abstract, it's fine, about absorption. And realizing in that time, feeling outside of the group was also my like own kind of lack of trust that the group could hold the thing. If I brought it to the group and said like, hey, I'm feeling left out, like I really like to be a part of these conversations, or this is what I'm experiencing, like, and being vulnerable about that, trusting that the people in community or groups or whatever could help to figure that out or process it, made me feel better about, just made me clearer about trusting that the things around me can also help out in a situation, and that it's not just me that has to figure it out. Or hold it or deal with it or grieve or like struggle through it. So I think some of that in community, to Camille's, like your question, I think is what I've had to learn about with myself, and in therapy in other ways. Trusting that everything around me can also like hold some of it. That's not always something that I believed.
Yeah. And then tying it to what you were talking about with like the work you've been doing around masculinity and the narratives and experiences that Black men are often in and feel that make make it louder to think I have to do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't rely on others, like how the experiences and the narratives make that easy to believe. And having to do the work to kind of dismantle those beliefs that were unfairly cast upon Black men. That's hard. That's hard work. Like you said, it's hard and it's slow. That's hard, but good.
Yeah.
Something about what you just said really resonated with me. As far as like that kind of, I'm summarizing kind of in my own words, but being able, in a group context, kind of being able to trust that you can show up and not necessarily have it all like figured out, and that the folks that you're in community with or connected with, can maybe like be okay with that and even help you. And I do, you mentioned triads earlier. I think some of that might be that like a part of that competency triad. And so as a 3 who's also in that triad, like wanting to show up and like, know it all or feel like, you know, I'm presenting in a way where I know it or don't look like I don't know what I'm talking about or what I'm feeling or what I'm doing. And so I think that is an incredible, area of growth to be able to get to a place where, you know, you're willing to, call on courage, from the whiz and, show up vulnerably and trust that the folks, you know, that you have chosen to be in community with, that you're connected with, that, you know, God has sent across your path to be in connection with, will not judge you for not necessarily having the words or having it all figured out, but also, you know, want to help and support.
Yep. That's right.
Groups are so interesting. Like when we're in groups, it's always interesting noticing our patterns and like how we show listening to both of you. I'm like, I'm in a group and I'm like, bleh. Like,
Here it is.
Here it is. I have a question. Does this mean this? Like, and then even like, that's like a formal group. Like I'm always asking questions. I'm talking a lot. I'm interacting with the leader. And then in friendship, I'm very like, what's inside is outside. And it's like, if this is inside and you're my friend, I want to tell you what's on the outside. And it might be a mess. And I'll say that I'll be like, I might eat my words in 5 minutes. I might eat my words in 5 months, but this is what it is now. And so just the difference of like, and I've come to really appreciate, cause then we can be in a group and we can judge ourselves. Like I'll leave a group and I'll be like, God, I talked too much. I took up too much space. I asked too many questions. And then I know that the other people that are quiet are sitting there going, I didn't talk. I feel left out. Look at Camille. She's got all these questions. And it's like, gosh, everybody just does it differently. And there's no right or wrong. And it's, there's growth to both that need to be done. But, anyways, I was just laughing at that of like, everybody's different. And there's an understanding to it too, of like, someone wants to figure it out first before they say it. And somebody else is like, I just want to throw it out there when I say it. So yeah.
Bless you. I'm more of I'm getting to be less of an observer of things and like an active participant of things. That was my writing for this year, to not just be like watching stuff, but to be like involved in it. So
how's it going? We're halfway through the year. How's it going?
It's going all right. I'm fucking around. It's going all right. It's going all right. I don't feel overcommitted. I don't feel like I'm over involved. I feel like just enough. Yeah.
That's good. That's great.
I was just about to say, you are helping some folks, I'm sure, by sharing that, especially like other observers. So yeah, kudos to you.
You know, you can hear, you mentioned, you know, the work that you did in therapy, with your therapist about the group stuff and the dynamics. But the question of, what's your relationship been with therapy over, whatever you want to share about that.
I started out as a person who was like, I don't need that. I'm fine. But maybe 8 years ago. What year is this? 2024? Maybe 8 years ago, 2016-ish, 2017. I started therapy in Greensboro with the awesome therapist. All my therapists have been Black so far, which has been such a wonder in my life. Yeah, and I love it. Think it's very useful as a person who doesn't speak much about my not as much. I don't speak as much about my feelings. I do and can and like process them. And I'm trying to practice daily, like expressing my feelings in moments. So I think being able to process with someone who is not someone I know, or at least, don't have a intimate relationship with, right? Like a friend or my wife or my mom or whomever, my dad even. I've enjoyed the experience of being able to process, because I spend a lot of time in my head, which I'm still trying to find balance, and getting in my body more. It's been extremely helpful for that. I could do like normal talk therapy, really. That's been my experience. And yeah, I think I just be needing help thinking through the things. Like I already thought through it mostly, all the options and possibilities, but to hear someone say, maybe that's not the way to look at it. Maybe this is a different way. And I'm like, oh, you got a different way to look at this. I didn't think of that one. Okay. Yeah, moving through that, processing feelings, talking about them more, trying to get clear about what's behind the things actually has been unique. Yeah, and then finding the connections to childhood or upbringing or parental things also has helped close some gaps that my prayers and church services can't necessarily do for me. Or friends, right? Because friends are like, yeah, you got it. It's all right. Just like take some time. And I'm like, yeah, but I still feel this thing. So yeah, it's been extremely valuable in that way. I want to get back. I took a little break, done both individual and couples counseling, which has been invaluable for us and for myself. Yeah, and encourage people too around me to try it if they can or have time or interest. Yeah, I think it's a regular part of conversation, even with friends around their experiences. Yeah, that was how me and my grandma, my mom's mom, connected the most when I started therapy. I was like, hey, I'm going to a therapist about this. And she was like, oh, I've been in therapy for X amount of time, and this is what it's done for me. And we talked like so often about it. So I didn't know many of those things about her. But it's helped her tremendously too. And just kind of, I think, did something new for our relationship. Yeah. So many good things to say, about it. So yeah.
That's incredible. How rare, right? Is it, especially for us, to go to a grandma and say, grandma, I'm going to therapy. And grandma's like, therapy's been my jam. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Cause my grandma, my grandma, Viv don't play. So I'm like, oh, she probably just go in there and sit and like talk to people any kind of way. But no, she really has a experience around it. That was really, really grounding for me.
That's dope.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Has there been any like one thing that has stuck out for you, like something that a therapist has said, or something that's come up that still resonates with you today, that you still carry with you today, that you still think about today?
Yeah, there's two big things. One, the first therapist I had gave me a acronym WTF for the moments in which I was freaking out. And WTF just stood for like, what are the facts? So instead of, I was dealing with some anxiety at the time. And it was just a way to like bring myself back out of my head somewhat, right? Like a balance. Like, what am I feeling in this moment? I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling scared. But what's actually happening in this moment? Which all it may have been is someone asked me a question and I don't know the answer. Right. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I'm like in this flight mode. That wasn't necessary. Right. So it just helped me to recenter and rethink about particular moments or experiences in the moment that helped me to be a bit less anxious. And then the other thing, I was talking about some workplace stuff with my current therapist. And he said, white supremacy is the pathology. And I said, oh my goodness. It's not me. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I don't have to do anything. This is just a part of this. Okay. And that helped me so greatly.
Not bad.
Because systems and people and places can make us feel crazy is the word I want to use. I was going to say wild, but I'm like, it can make you feel like you're losing it. And it's like, this can't just be me noticing these things and feeling this way. And like, I know I'm like a fight or flight kind of person, but I shouldn't be trying to fly all the time. Like, something's going on. Something's shaky in here. Yeah. So that was the second thing. And I think about it all the time, especially when I'm dealing with, people at work or So I think it just helped to make me see that it's not always me. And it's not always something I need to do better or differently or change or say differently or use the right words or put a comma in this place instead of this other place. Sometimes it's not me. So those are two big things that therapy has really brought to me that I think was incredibly, great, game changing for your point.
Thank you for sharing.
Good.
Yeah.
Those are good. Yeah. What are the facts? And listen, is white supremacy. The whiteness is whiting.
Okay. Yeah.
Seriously. I mean,
Not
that's
you.
so, and it's like, we know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, to get that validation, especially in kind of in the midst of something that is happening where you're really questioning that. I think as clinicians, sometimes we can take for granted because oftentimes, we're saying some of the same things or addressing some of the same issues, but just how incredibly validating it can be to just be like, okay, well, and it sounds like somebody's gaslighting you.
Mm-hmm.
For clients to be like, oh my gosh, like, yes.
100%. Yeah.
Great gems. Thanks for sharing.
And the beauty of having, like you said, like, thankfully you've had all Black therapists, like the beauty that comes with having a Black therapist to be able to say that, right? Like to be able to say like, this is a system problem. And can speak to that and state it. Is huge to have those safe spaces and those safe guides, therapists that can call it for what it is and use the language that needs to be used. Because that is so real. When people are talking about work, sometimes I have to kind of be like, okay, tell me what's that? Who is that person?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here's what's happening.
Yep. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He called me selfish one time too. That sat me down. It was fine. But we got through it. I was
through it.
Also, you're right. That's right. You can tell me the truth and I won't take it personally. Not called me selfish. Said something I did was selfish. That's what I'll say to clarify. And I was like, yep, you're right. It absolutely was.
That therapist speaks truth. That therapist is not afraid to say it.
Yeah. I need that. Or else I'll be up here.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. This has been such a great conversation. I thank you for sharing your wisdoms and thoughts, and there's such a piece to it too. I know you talked about the anxiety and being in your head, and but I sense a place of peace too. Sevens go to 5 in health. And I know that for myself because it does feel really peaceful to me actually when I'm in a 5 space. It just feels more serene than the 7 space. We're both in that head triad. So I'm still in my head, but it's more, it's more gentle.
That's right. That's right.
And I like that. So thank you for sharing that vibe with us this morning, because there's so much wisdom in a gentle, peaceful way. I like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Quay got on and he was just kind of like humming and just, absolutely just felt really like, just like mellow and chill and not anxious. That it's not what it feels like at all. Again, knowing that we can all grapple with anxiety to a degree, again, especially being Black and in this country. But our dear head triad folks, how anxiety can really show up for you. So a true testament to just you and the work. And I suspect, being so connected to doing work on a maybe daily basis that that is meaningful to you, and that that inspires you. But please know that it's contagious, right? We can feel it even, with you being in Durham and me being in Charlotte and Camille being in Raleigh. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank y'all. And attribute much credit to my wife, Brittany Bennett Weston. Keep me in line. Not in line. It ain't like I'm just, not in line. But she be known. So yeah.
And this is our first married couple now on the podcast, because Brittany was on. Look at us. Brittany was on season 3. She kicked us off for season 3, and now we have Quay on here for season 4. So the Weston family has been fully represented on Enneagram for the Culture, and we wouldn't want it. Next, we're gonna have Eden on in a little bit.
In season 10, we'll get Eden on here.
What's she gonna say?
I'll make sure she's prepared. Don't worry. Okay.
We know we actually between a 3 and a 5 mom, she gonna be ready.
That's right.
Super prepared. And
she will come correct.
Knock it out of the park.
3
to 5 parents, she's gonna be doing just fine.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you've already shared a little about the Yonda Project, but if you want to share any more that you'd like, just for our audience to know about any projects that you're working on that you want to shed some light on, and let the folks know where they can find you and how they connect with you.
Everything. I am findable on the interwebs at the Yonda Project. That's everywhere. It's the website. That's the Instagram. I don't use all the others. Just Instagram and just the website. The Yonda Project. You'll find me there. The podcast is on all the things. The Yonda Podcast. I have a book called Yonda, Words Beyond Worlds, where this all started. So that is out there in the world. And that's me. So you can find all of that. That's the most important.
Dope. And we'll make sure y'all have that linked in our show notes so that you can easily just click and follow Quay and his amazing work and support him. Quay, thank you again so much for your time and sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
A joy.
Yeah. Thank y'all. I really, really love this show. Like, y'all don't understand. So when y'all get t-shirts and stuff, let me know.
It's on it's on deck.
If you want
no, you trust that, bro. You be knowing they're coming. We're working on it.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. So thank y'all for real.
Thank you.
Y'all are doing some incredible stuff with this. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's a wrap on our episode with Quaye Weston. You heard, you can find him online. I love following Quaye online. Just a little my own personal plug. He has opinions on things, like you heard. And you get a different side of Quaye on Instagram, and I like it.
It's true.
But it's always wise. Like what you have to say is like, never thought about that. So thank you for sharing your voice online. And like you said, being more involved, not being an observer. So we see that. So thank you. And yeah, that's it, Kim.
Yeah. So we'll see y'all later.
See you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.